The halls of the Philippine Senate, often marked by protocol and deliberate debate, just became the stage for high political drama. What began as routine proceedings quickly captured the nation's attention, spreading across social media like wildfire and dominating headlines. Two key figures from co-equal chambers were at the center: Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan and a House figure, Chariz, representing a party list, a veteran lawmaker and then vice presidential candidate, answered by a voice from the House, Chariz. It wasn't face-to-face, but Pangilinan delivered a direct public response from the Senate floor. Questions rose about decorum, accountability, and legislative conduct. He laid out his case piece by piece for colleagues and the nation watching live. This wasn't typical debate, it was a defense of personal honor and the Senate's dignity. Rare public call-outs between chambers made the moment viral, a crack in the usual veneer of legislative civility, and a focal point for national discussion. Behind bills and resolutions are reputations to protect and political battles to fight. Viewers got a rare glimpse into tensions beneath Philippine politics. This session would spark a wider conversation about rules of engagement among lawmakers. Beat. To understand the weight of what happened, we need to unpack a crucial, often unspoken rule: inter-parliamentary courtesy. Inter-parliamentary courtesy isn't written law. It's a long-standing tradition, a gentleman's agreement. It governs how members of a bicameral legislature interact, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Rooted in mutual respect for officials and institutions, members refrain from publicly criticizing the other house to keep cooperation possible. It acts as a buffer against personal animosity, resolve differences through channels, conference committees, and private dialogues. It also means not interfering with another chamber's internal rules, procedures, and disciplinary actions. For example, do not question how the House manages its budget or disciplines its members. Courtesy keeps the legislative machinery running, but it's not an absolute shield, it's tradition, not unbreakable law. Sometimes accusations are so severe, a public response feels necessary, risking escalation. The Pangilinan-Chariz drama unfolded at this intersection. So why did Pangilinan take the Senate floor? It wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was a calculated response to a series of public statements and narratives already in motion. Chariz made public statements implicating Pangilinan in alleged budget irregularities. They suggested hypocrisy, criticizing the budget while having projects funded. For an opposition fiscalizer, credibility is currency. Silence was not an option. The Senate floor offered the most official platform to set the record straight and document his side. By invoking privilege hour, he spoke not just to colleagues but to the entire nation. A strategic move to reclaim the narrative and counter what he saw as a malicious attack. The narrative is incomplete without Congressman Zaldy Co of Ako Bicol. His name became linked as Pangilinan scrutinized large flood control allocations for his region. These were standard Senate oversight questions during the GAA review. Chariz framed responses as a defense of Co, accusing Pangilinan of hypocrisy. The focus shifted from allocations to the questioner's integrity, a classic attack-the-person move. Beneath the clash, pork barrel politics and the power to direct funds. Pangilinan's scrutiny triggered a defensive reaction, voiced by Chariz, leading to a dramatic floor moment, a case study in how oversight can spark fierce political blowback. Beat next, Chariz's point of view, and Pangilinan's counterpoint. From Chariz's perspective, their statements were a justified defense against unfair attacks. They argued all lawmakers participate in the budget process to deliver projects to constituents. Roads, bridges, flood control, progress they said was being unfairly maligned. They claimed Pangilinan endorsed projects funded nationally, implying he had his own pork while criticizing others. Message: no moral high ground if everyone seeks funding. They framed it as defending a legislator's duty to secure a fair share for development. In his privilege speech, Pangilinan drew a sharp line between institutional amendments and individual insertions. As an opposition senator, he said he couldn't unilaterally add projects for personal benefit. Any changes were debated, scrutinized, and approved collectively, on record. Projects linked to him, like support for state universities and agricultural programs, were policy-driven, not personal. Open to scrutiny and distinct from large lump-sum infrastructure funds tied to specific districts. He argued the real questions were about necessity, planning, and integrity of multi-billion flood control projects. Personal attacks, he said, were a smokescreen to stop deeper probing. He reaffirmed the Senate's duty to guard public funds, oversight as a cornerstone of democracy. Beat. So, was inter-parliamentary courtesy properly invoked for Congressman Zaldy Co? Some say courtesy was breached. Budget concerns should have been raised discreetly, not publicly. Direct dialogue and bicameral sessions, not the court of public opinion. Others argue courtesy can't shield public funds from scrutiny. Transparency outweighs politeness. Pangilinan's stance: scrutinize items, not people, core to a senator's role. Using courtesy to halt inquiries would turn cooperation into a gag order. In this view, courtesy ends where the public's right to know begins. Online, citizens were sharply divided. Some lauded a masterclass in accountability, speaking truth to power. Others called it political opportunism, defending regional development from baseless attacks. Inside, reactions were measured. Some affirmed oversight, others urged stricter courtesy to avoid public spats. Oversight remained central to the Senate's identity. The fallout, a real-world lesson in legislative complexity. This episode spotlights attention in democracy: professional courtesy versus transparency. A vigilant opposition isn't rudeness, it's a pillar of democracy. We should demand a government where courtesy and accountability are two sides of the same coin. Our job: remain watchful, ask questions, and hold every official to the highest standard, because transparency is the best disinfectant.